today. And let's start off with a short story about Kevin Lerena, South African boxer who I mentioned just the other day, winning his battle over Sanad Gashi. And apparently he did so with broken ribs. So, congratulations to Kevin Lerena from South Africa for coming through with an impressive victory. Because, quite frankly, his opponent has a 96% knockout record and was talking quite big before going into that fight. And so, hats off to Kevin. Well done. Let's move along to the World Boxing Organization, the WBO, who get a big thumbs down for their decision, and sending a letter to Eddie Hearn over at Matchroom saying basically Katie Taylor has only a week to decide whether she's going to be fighting at 135 or 140. And whichever one she decides to fight at, she has to vacate the other title held by the WBO. So that's a real bit of a downer, bit of a depressing thought that she can only enjoy her victory as a two-division champ, for a couple of days. Too bad. If you want to have a quick listen, I will tell you what the WBO said with respect to the fighter and her two-division undisputed victory. Anyway, after defeating Chantel Cameron, they basically said under Section 5, defense of the title, no WBO champion may hold WBO titles in more than one weight division, period. If a WBO champion wins a WBO championship in a higher or lower division, the WBO champion shall have 10 days to determine which weight division the WBO champion will retain. The other weight division will be declared vacant. Consequently, in the light of the foregoing, Katie Taylor must decide within the time frame provided. This is the reference division, which weight division she will retain, either the lightweight or junior welterweight division. In all caps, it is so ordered. So, if Taylor plows through with a third fight with Cameron instead, the 135-pound strap will likely be sacrificed as ordered by the WBO, which is too bad. I would like to see her fight Amanda Serrano myself. I'm sure you guys would do as well. But then trilogy over at Croke Park, as I say, finalized against Chantel Cameron would be a good fight as well. So big decision coming up for Katie Taylor. Right, let's go on to more war of words, and this time between Mikaela Mayer and Natasha Jonas, who obviously are looking forward to their fight coming up on January 20th, taking place at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool, I believe, where Mikaela Mayer will travel to fight Jonas here. They had a few, words at the press conference. I put a link down below in the description to their presser. But one of the things that interests me was what Mikaela Mayer said with respect to the 10-round, 3-minute round versus 10-round, 2-minute round fight. And Mikaela Mayer said, I'm outgrowing the 10 2-minute rounds, and it takes two to agree. Jones responded, I never said no. However, Ben Shalom, president of Boxer SBO XXER, who promotes the event, said, I think it was me. For me, 10-2s is the most exciting format, he said. So whatever the distance, this bout will be a major moment for both fighters. These are the type of fights that I want to be part of. Mayer said, on paper, she's the best fighter I've ever faced. Remember, Mikaela Mayer is moving up in weight, but yet certainly towered over Jonas at the press conference. She said, I have to win this fight if I want to continue and have the career that I've always dreamed of having, she said. So let's see what happens come January. Now, come January, someone else has to make a decision. Speaking of debates and war of words. So as you know, Conor Benn is no friend of mine. And I don't know why Eddie Hearn is taking such time and trouble, energy and effort and money to defend him. Conor Benn basically took drugs, and he was not allowed to fight in the UK, but he nonetheless found his way around that and fought over in the U.S., being licensed over there, and now wanted to reface Chris Eubank Jr. And just yesterday, I said that deal had been finalized, and the fight was expected to be announced later this week, yet at an undisclosed location, likely Tottenham Spurs Arena in February. But as you know, these two failed drug tests came up, and the BBBOC and UCAD, that anti-doping panel decisions allowed Ben to fight in Florida has been appealed, and so the BBBOC head Robert Smith said he has refused Ben's application to box in the UK. So therefore, that fight with Eubank Jr. is not going to happen. Good. However, Eddie Hearn comes back and says, there'll be other fighters that Ben can fight over in America or in other countries, and that the Eubank Jr. fight might happen possibly in Abu Dhabi. So some fans out there may feel as though Ben is being treated a little bit differently, like other fighters who fail drug tests, let alone any athlete who fails a drug test. And while others might feel Ben is being singled out, but I disagree. I think he's a cheater and he should be banned from the sport. That's my opinion. Just bear in mind, Ben and his promoter, Eddie Hearn, feel the welterweight contender has been victimized. So it will be interesting to hear what Ben and Hearn have to say about Smith's comments and his refusing the application for Ben to fight in the UK. It goes without saying, neither man will be happy with Smith's decision. Nonetheless, as I said, the remainder of boxing fans around the world outside of the UK don't really care about Conor Benn fighting Chris Eubank Jr. According to BoxingNews24.com, Eddie Hearn has now 4 potential American options for Conor Benn. And let's have a quick look and see who, in fact, he would like them to be. The way Eubank Jr. looked in his 2 fights with Liam Smith, by the way, he would stand 0 chance of beating any of the middleweight champions. You throw Eubank Jr. with one of these 160-pound champs, it ends badly for him. Jamal Charlo, Carlos Adames, Janabek Alam Kanuli, Urslan De Lara. So the backup option for Ben would be Jaron Ennis, Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios, or Virgil Ortiz. So I say good luck. Let's see how it shapes up, because there's more than enough fighters out there willing to fight cleanly and responsibly and not have to fight on the back foot against the anti-doping organizations. Now, speaking of controversy, this one kind of like falls out of the scope of boxing, but actually has a lot to do with boxing, especially in light of Showtime's decision to back out of boxing, as have other major organizations in the broadcast and or live streaming world. And it boils down to this particular story boils down to claims. So recently, an organization called Misfits Boxing, which basically is headed by a YouTube celebrity by the name of KSI. He's the guy who founded this thing called Misfits Boxing, basically aligning, shall we say, influencers or celebrities to boxing matches. Now, the guy who fought, for example, on a recent card, Dylan Dennis, has long been a training partner with Conor McGregor and was basically disqualified when he fought Logan Paul, just for example. And KSI, by the way, fought Tommy Fury, and KSI lost that one. Anyway, the point of the matter is a report came out in social media on one of these many numerous I'm going to say combat sports social media outfits. And they reported 1.3 million pay-per-view buys at $54.99 US dollars. So, $55 at 1 million. So you're looking at 55 million gross. So anyway, this really upset someone who is very familiar with pay-per-view buys, Dana White. Now, yes, he's the head of the UFC, and this is why I say it doesn't really truly fit into the realm of boxing, but it does in this regard, because in a recent interview, White actually lashed out at reports which claim influencer boxing cards are generating big numbers on pay-per-view. And he tore apart any claim that a recent Misfits pay-per-view brought in 1.3 million buys. That card in particular had a main event, as I said, which featured KSI and Tommy Fury, Logan Paul facing Dylan Dennis. Dana White said, I haven't heard about anybody selling a lot of pay-per-views lately. Let me tell you how hard it is to sell 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. And if you did sell 1.3 million, if you sold 700,000 pay-per-view buys, they'd be putting on fights fucking 10 times a year. When do you hear those kinds of numbers fly around pay-per-view world? They're lying motherfuckers. I don't believe that shit. You know how much money that is if they got a deal and did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys? Anybody who's been on any of these fucking horrible boxing shows, and I like Logan Paul, he said, and some of those guys are involved in this shit. If you come out and you say you did 1.3 million buys on the event, and you're lying through your fucking teeth, the amount of money you'd fucking make, they'd be doing pay-per-views all the fucking time. Let me tell you what, every pay-per-view distributor out there would want them, and Showtime wouldn't have gone out of business. White doesn't think much of influencer boxing cards, obviously, which often feature social media figures and a little or two experience in the squared circle. However, he said it's much cheaper and a much better experience just to watch the highlights. The production sucks. The fucking fights end up sucking. It's shitty boxing is what it is. I'm not trying to put them down, he says. I just don't care what these guys do. These are just the facts. To say they're doing any numbers, all these different people have tried to invest in this shit, and they try to raise money and do all this other bullshit. People would be fighting over them and throwing fucking truckloads of money at them if they did anything near 1 million buys. None of these fucking guys are doing 1 million buys. That's Dana White. And he does know about selling pay-per-view for the various fights that he puts on over in the UFC world. Anyway, Talkin Fight fans, appreciate it. Thank you for joining me here on Boxing News today. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll see you later on at 4 p.m. from Mike Gore Show, Knuckle Up. And you can join me again 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time for another episode tomorrow. Thank you.